I think we're all quite excited that it could be the so-called flood tunnel booby trap system. Of course, we're going to investigate.
It is a significant opening.
This could be the offset chamber.
Another anomaly, it's this one in the northern tip of the swamp.
Something unbelievable has just been uncovered on Oak Island, and it may change history forever. Rick Lagina and Marty Lagina have finally hit what could be the biggest discovery ever recorded on the island. A hidden chamber valued at over $150 million, buried deep underground and possibly connected to the legendary Knights Templar. But this isn't just a treasure story. Inside the chamber are ancient relics stamped with unmistakable Templar symbols, evidence so powerful it could finally prove theories historians have debated for centuries. And the moment this discovery surfaced, everything changed. Interest exploded instantly. Governments started asking questions. Private collectors began circling. Even quiet whispers linked to the Vatican started to emerge. Within hours, security across the island was locked down, as guarded teams began moving gold and priceless artifacts under tight protection. This is no longer just a dig. This is a discovery that could rewrite the past and trigger a global battle over who controls it. So, if you want to see what they found, what it really means, and what could still be hidden beneath the surface, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because what happens next changes everything. Out on the island, a thick Atlantic fog creeps in, rolling low across the shoreline like something alive. It swallows the old wharf and drifts silently through the trees. The cold, damp air cuts deep. But inside the war room, the tension is electric. Rick and Marty hunch over a long wooden table scattered with maps, laptops, and long-forgotten cups of coffee gone cold. At the center, a sonar screen glows green, casting eerie light across their faces. What it shows is unlike anything they've encountered in decades. A signal, massive, dense, almost unreal. As the reading spikes, the equipment briefly glitches, overloaded by the sheer intensity of what lies below. The coordinates lock in on a quiet, overlooked section of the island, untouched for more than 150 years. There's nothing there but a single weathered cedar post, leaning like a silent sentinel from another time. Marty studies the data carefully, his expression tightening. The density reading doesn't match anything natural. It points to something enormous, possibly a single solid mass of refined metal, or something even more mysterious. Without looking away from the screen, Rick reaches behind him and pulls down an old leather-bound journal. Its spine is cracked, its pages fragile with age. He flips to a marked section, stopping at an entry dated 1795. The faded ink tells of a hidden son of Solomon, buried where unseen channels of the sea run beneath the earth. As Rick reads the passage aloud, the room falls silent. The description aligns almost perfectly with the anomaly's location, right beside one of the island's ancient flood tunnel systems, engineered to instantly flood and trap anyone who got too close. Experts have already warned that drilling here could trigger collapse, or worse, unleash the very system designed to protect whatever lies below. But the brothers don't hesitate. This is the moment they've been waiting for their entire lives. The decision is made. This is the next dig site. Hours later, the focus shifts to a digital maritime map glowing on another screen. Researcher Doug Crowell overlays the new coordinates onto a centuries-old chart. The result is chilling. A tiny ink mark on the ancient map lines up exactly with the anomaly. Next to it, barely visible, are Latin words, Sanctum Aurum, Holy Gold. Doug explains the chart dates back to the late Templar era. Marty then reveals another piece of evidence, a translated fragment from a sealed French court document. It describes the final days before the Templar Order fell, when knights reportedly loaded ships with treasure and set sail westward, beyond the known world. Those ships were never seen again. But ocean current data suggests something remarkable. They could have reached Nova Scotia in under 3 weeks, slipping quietly into Mahone Bay without ever being detected. Ground-penetrating radar has already confirmed it. A massive chamber lies beneath the anomaly. Its walls are constructed with alternating layers of granite and crushed quartz, clearly man-made. A design like this could deflect early excavation tools and even hide the structure from detection. The deeper they investigate, the clearer it becomes. This wasn't just built to hide something. It was built to protect it. By nightfall, the dig site transforms into a scene of intense activity. Floodlights blaze against the darkness as heavy machinery is positioned with precision. Steel groans, engines roar, and hydraulic systems hiss as the massive drill is brought online. Then, it begins. The drill cuts through the first layers, dark peat and compact soil, remnants of centuries of decay. But at around 35 feet, everything changes. The sound shifts. The drill slows as it hits something dense, a thick layer of blue-gray clay. Rick immediately recognizes it. They've seen this before. The same unnatural clay was discovered years ago in the Money Pit, material that doesn't belong to the region. Tests showed it was transported from far inland and carefully packed into place, forming a watertight barrier. Whoever built this went to extraordinary lengths. This wasn't the work of simple settlers. This was something far more advanced and far more intentional. There's no way ordinary settlers could have managed something like this, digging, hauling, and sealing that much clay with such precision. But a powerful medieval force like the Knights Templar, with fleets, manpower, and advanced knowledge, that suddenly makes a lot more sense. As the drill pushes deeper, its grinding echo vibrates through the steel structure. Tension builds across the site. Then the slurry begins to rise, a thick, muddy mix spilling out under the blinding floodlights. That's when it happens. A faint shimmer, tiny flecks of gold swirl through the returning slurry, flashing with every rotation of the pump. Marty leans in, eyes narrowing. This isn't natural ore. The gold is too pure, already refined, broken apart, and suspended in the mix. Excitement surges. But so does something else. Unease. The slurry starts to bubble, but not randomly. The movement is slow, rhythmic, almost like breathing. It's not any pressure pattern they've seen before. It feels deliberate, measured, as if something deep underground is reacting. Rick and Marty exchange a silent look across the platform. No words are needed. Whatever is down there, it knows they've arrived. Moments later, the winch strains as a core sample is pulled up, dripping with mud and water. Inside, something catches the light. A smooth, worked surface. Not just debris. Something crafted. Carefully, the team extracts it and seals it. Even before testing, the weight alone tells them this is significant. Hours later, inside the field lab, the object rests under stark white lights. Gold dust still glimmers in the air as the piece is revealed. A gilded panel marked with a distinct cross pate, its design sharp despite centuries underground. The edges are worn and scarred by immense pressure. But the surface itself, perfect, untouched, as if time never reached it. The lab goes silent. Then the reading comes in. 99.9% pure gold. No one says a word. The composition matches gold used in early 14th century coinage tied to Templar-era Portugal. The connection is too exact to ignore. This isn't just treasure. This is proof. Marty studies the engraving closely. It's not a rough copy. It's identical to carvings found in Tomar, once one of the last major sanctuaries of the Templars before they vanished. Every detail, the lines, the proportions, even tiny imperfections, matches perfectly. It's as if this piece was taken directly from a sacred Templar artifact and buried beneath Oak Island. The moment is broken by a burst of static over the radio. Marty calmly relays the findings to the crew above. And then, it begins. A deep echoing rumble rises from below. At first, it's subtle, just enough to rattle loose gravel, but it grows, sending vibrations up through the ground and into the metal beneath their feet. Rick freezes. He's seen this before, not in person, but in an ancient text, one of the last authenticated Templar documents preserved by the Vatican. A single line flashes in his mind. The vault shall answer intrusion as the horn answers the hunter. Back then, it sounded symbolic. Now, it feels like a warning. If this structure was designed as a defense system, they may have just triggered it. Above ground, chaos erupts. Gauges spike wildly. Then suddenly, water surges up through the borehole with violent force, rushing from a hidden channel deep below. But it brings something with it. A gold bar, heavy, solid, unmistakable. Stamped across its surface is a crusader's cross, each arm flaring outward with perfect clarity. Beneath it, a line of carved numerals winds across the metal. Strange, almost ritualistic, not like any mint marking. Rick traces them slowly. They feel intentional, symbolic. The gold is warm, strangely so. Scans confirm it. Nearly flawless purity. But there's more. Embedded within the metal are microscopic traces, frankincense, myrrh, even aged olive oil, substances tied to sacred rituals. The conclusion is staggering. This bar may not have started as a bar at all. It could have once been part of a religious artifact, a chalice, a relic, something holy, melted down and reforged. Rick stares at it, voice quiet but heavy. If this came from a Templar sanctuary, then everything down there might be the remains of something sacred, not just treasure, history, repurposed. And there's more, much more. The downhole camera confirms it on the next descent. As it drifts into the shadowed chamber, rows of gold bars come into view, stacked with almost unnatural precision, like a constructed system rather than a random hoard. Between them sit iron-bound chests, still intact despite centuries of decay. And beyond those, ornate relics resting on carved stone platforms, some set with large rubies, glowing faintly in the dim light. Marty's voice drops as he calculates. Just in raw gold, that's at least 150 million. He doesn't finish the sentence. He doesn't need to. Rick speaks instead, almost to himself. Do you realize what this kind of wealth could have funded back then? Ships, expeditions, entire settlements, long before Christopher Columbus ever crossed the ocean. The implication hangs in the air. They may not just be uncovering treasure, they may be uncovering a hidden chapter of history. The camera continues to pan, and then it reveals something even more unsettling. Carved into the far wall is a recessed niche holding 2 stone tablets. Their surfaces are covered in tightly packed Latin inscriptions, spiraling outward into intricate geometric patterns. Designs so precise they resemble sacred geometry, the kind associated with hidden knowledge and ancient rites. And then it appears, a chalice. The camera caught it in a narrow beam of light, a chalice resting inside a cedar box lined with faded, crumbling velvet. Its surface shimmered with embedded jewels, arranged in a pattern Rick instantly recognized. He'd seen it before, in a 14th century illustration tied to the legendary Grail associated with Saint Bernard, the same relic believed to have disappeared when the Knights Templar fleet fled La Rochelle. That single frame was enough. Everyone froze. Beside the chalice, leaning against an ancient chest, lay a long, ornate sword. Its pommel gleamed with inlaid silver, the crossguard etched with interlocking circular designs. Along the fuller, 2 words stood out, clear, precise, untouched by time: Deus Vult, the old Templar battle cry. Doug was the first to break the silence. His voice cut through the tension. The gold might just be a distraction, he said. The real prize, the thing they truly wanted to protect, is all of this. Rick barely whispered his response. This isn't just treasure. This is history itself. And in that moment, everything changed. The gold was valuable, yes. But the story behind it, the undeniable proof of a hidden past, carried far more weight. Even before the retrieval system lifted its next load from the shaft, it felt like that truth was already rising, spreading beyond the island, seeping into the night like an unseen force. Oak Island was no longer quiet. Its secret was awake, and it wasn't staying contained. Searchlights began sweeping across the island, cutting through the heavy coastal darkness. The atmosphere turned sharp, almost fragile, as if the world itself sensed something had shifted. Word had started to leak. Not publicly, not yet. But enough. Historians whispered across encrypted lines. Private collectors quietly moved money. Hidden networks, ones that rarely surfaced, began aligning behind the scenes. Even the government of Canada stepped in, issuing carefully worded inquiries under the label of heritage protection. But beneath the formal language, the message was clear. This discovery mattered. Out beyond the reef, a dark, unmarked vessel appeared. No lights, no identification. just a silent silhouette against the horizon. No one claimed it. No one needed to. Back on the island, everything changed overnight. Security tightened dramatically. Floodlights turned darkness into a cold, artificial day. Armed contractors patrolled in pairs, radios buzzing softly, movements sharp and alert. The energy among the crew shifted too. Excitement was still there, but now it was mixed with something heavier. This wasn't just a treasure site anymore. It was becoming something global, something dangerous. Across the ocean, in places far older than the Atlantic shores, others had taken notice. Rumors began surfacing, quiet, precise, impossible to confirm. A delegation tied to the Vatican had reportedly been sent to Halifax. Officially, it was for archival research. Unofficially, no one needed to explain. Rick couldn't shake the image. Figures in dark suits stepping off a transatlantic flight, disappearing into waiting vehicles without a word. This wasn't just about uncovering history anymore. It was about who history belonged to. One night, sitting near the fire, Marty finally said it out loud. "This isn't just valuable," he admitted quietly. "It's a lightning rod." And he was right. What they had found wasn't just wealth, it was legacy. Something older than nations themselves. And deep down, everyone knew the same thing. This would lead to conflict. The only question was when. Then, without warning, the vault revealed something else. At its lowest point, the cameras captured a massive stone seal carved from a single slab. Its design was chilling, a skeletal hand gripping a cross, every detail etched with deliberate precision. This wasn't decoration. It was a warning. Below it, worn but still readable, were Latin words. Rick translated them slowly, his voice low. "He who takes shall be taken. The debt will be paid in blood." Silence followed, not the silence of work, but the kind that settles in when something ancient feels suddenly real. Stories Rick had once dismissed, tales of cursed treasure, vanished ships, ruined families, now felt uncomfortably close. And then, the system failed. Without warning, the winch hauling a heavy chest jolted violently. The cable screamed as it slipped. The load dropped, slamming into the platform. A secondary line snapped with a crack like gunfire. 2 crew members barely escaped as the cable whipped past, slicing deep into the wood. No one was killed, but it was close. Too close. For minutes, no one spoke. That night, the discussion stretched deep into the early hours. Inside the site office, under a dim swinging bulb, the team argued. Some pushed forward, insisting they couldn't stop now. Others hesitated. It wasn't just the warning carved in stone. It wasn't just the accident. It was the feeling that they were crossing a line. Rick stayed quiet for most of it, thinking. Then finally he spoke. "We leave part of it." The room went still. "We take what we need, what we can study," he continued. "But the rest, we seal it back." At first, Marty resisted. But the more they thought about it, the more it made sense. Because whether they were ready or not, the world was already closing in. The strategy came together quietly, step by step. They decided to remove only the most important relics, along with a limited number of gold bars, just enough to confirm the discovery without exposing its full magnitude. Each item was carefully recorded, labeled, and secured inside specially designed crates. The vault itself was then sealed. Reinforced steel and layers of poured concrete closed off the entrance, while the borehole was locked beneath a grid of heavy plates. From that moment on, access would be restricted to only a handful of trusted individuals. As the final crate was loaded for transport, Oak Island began to shift once again. A dense fog rolled in from the bay, thick and slow, swallowing the floodlights in waves of pale silver. Sounds faded. The crunch of boots, the hum of engines, even the distant crash of the Atlantic. It felt as if the island itself was pulling a veil back over everything, hiding the truth once more. Rick stood near the dock, watching the barge drift into the mist, carrying its sealed cargo of gold, silent, heavy, almost alive. When Marty Lagina stepped beside him, neither spoke at first. Both stared into the fog, as if expecting it to reveal echoes of the past. Finally, Rick broke the silence, his voice distant. "Oak Island never gives up all its secrets," he said quietly. "But tonight, we took one back." His words faded into the mist. The island remained still, waiting, as it always had, for the next person bold enough or reckless enough to try again. And if you think this discovery is the end of the mystery, think again. The gold, that's only the beginning. What still lies buried beneath could change history as we know it. So if you're ready to follow this story further, make sure to like the video so more explorers can join the journey. Subscribe for the next chapter and turn on notifications, because when the next clue emerges, you'll want to be the first to see it. The island isn't finished telling its story, and neither are we.